Hello, this is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper, and I'm going to do a walkthrough of my weekly planning using a fairly functional style in which I am using pen, paper, and nothing really kind of fancy. Yes. So one of the things I am going to talk a little bit more about is the new iOS 18 operating system. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad or, well, those two, the new operating system just came out and it has some really nice integration between the calendar app and the reminders app. And so previously I would use an application called OmniFocus, which costs $99 every time they do an upgrade. Actually, I think if you're upgrading, there's a little bit of a discount. It might have been $80, but still it's a pay for use application. And this new update pretty closely covers all of the features of OmniFocus. So far, the only thing that I have noticed that isn't covered is adding in the amount of time that a task can take. So, for example, if I do a task that is send an email to, that task likely will take 15 minutes or less, depending on the content of the email and how much editing or how much reviewing I do before I hit send, versus writing a report. That task might take 2 hours to do. So that's the only thing that I haven't seen yet. If you know how to do that, please leave a comment and help me out. So this past week, I really played around with that, with looking at the scheduled items that I have, and then the open blocks of time. I assigned a task within the Reminders app, a date and time to get that done, and then I was able to tap to check it off, which was really interesting. Also, sorry, here's my nerdy side coming out. I read an article in the New York Times this week that was speaking to the kind of pandemic young children that are now in preschool and kindergarten, and the areas of skill deficit that teachers across the United States are seeing with things like play skills. And the most interesting was fine motor skills. So they're finding a lot of these 4 and 5-year-old little nuggets that are not able to hold a writing instrument. They don't have thumb strength. They don't have like pincer grip, and they're kind of hypothesizing. And this was teachers and pediatricians that were interviewed, but they're hypothesizing that's likely because of the use of screens, namely an iPad, where they're holding it and then they're tapping or swiping, and they're not doing fine motor things that kids used to do as part of playing with other children, or really kind of playing with toys much in general. Even something like Legos is going to build up those muscles. Play-Doh is going to build up those muscles. And kids just reportedly did not do a lot of those things. So that was interesting. All right. Oh, that's why. So I'm looking at my calendar over here that is on my iPad, and I can't show that because some of the calendar invites were added to my calendar by other people. And so they do include details that I'm not going to share on my channel, because there's a level of confidentiality that I need to maintain. But I had added in a reminder for today that I added because I knew I would be able to capture it while filming this video, that I need to add on October 26th that my husband, I'm just going to turn this so that it's comfortable for me to write. So he's playing in a basketball tournament. My handwriting is atrocious. Gosh, I don't like that. And then on Sunday, he's doing golf. Now on Saturday, the 26th, I might be going to a Halloween party. And I say might because Aiden's surgery is this Wednesday. I really don't know what life is going to be like post-surgery, and yes, I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't know what to anticipate. I don't know how it's gonna go. I don't necessarily want to commit to a ton of plans because of all of that. So, but 4 weeks later, we do have a few things that are tentatively on there. All right, so let's look at, I'm going to pull this up for the day. So I've got I should write it here, 7:45, right there. All right, hand, cooperate. My hand is very shaky. I am at the upper elementary school to do some training. And then at 8:25, I have a consult. And at 10 o'clock, I have a middle school consult. And then I've got some tasks that I added in. And this one, I'm going to drag and drop to move it. Okay. And then I have that consult in the afternoon, which actually that's not happening because I have some plans that evening that I will probably talk about next week. Maybe, I don't know. I'll say it. I have someone that I haven't seen in many, many years is coming into Massachusetts and in the Boston area. So I'm going to go into Boston and meet them for dinner. All right, Tuesday. And I didn't fill any of my recurring things out for October yet. Perhaps I'll do maybe a October monthly setup. I don't know. I don't know that my content, this is that valuable, but anywho, the typical Tuesday meeting that I have that's a recurring meeting, it's not going to happen Tuesday because we had to push it last week to Friday. And we decided Friday evening that it would be best to not meet this Tuesday so we actually have time to work on some of the things that we discussed. But at 10 o'clock, I am doing a meeting with a middle school parent. So part of my job, which is kind of really interesting, is students who have a pretty intense history or presentation with school refusal. I may be called upon to do an evaluation to get a better or help the team understand a little bit better the function, the reason why for that school refusal. There are a wide variety of reasons that students may refuse to come to school, and those can range from pure conflicts or fear of interactions with other people within the school environment. It could have to do with some other kind of social, emotional psychological struggle. For example, fear of getting sick is a very real reason and can impact somebody not only going to school, but going into large public gatherings where the fear of exposure to germs is greater. It could also be that there's a disparity of demands, of expectations and requirements across the context of home versus school. And if there's some kind of an avoidance or escape feature, staying home, staying in bed can really fulfill that desire or that motivation. The problem with that is then it becomes this kind of snowball where the more school you're missing, the more things that pile up, and then the sense of overwhelm ends up increasing. So I have an interview. I share all that because I have an interview with a parent who has a child that is really struggling with getting into school. Once they get to school, they do fantastic. And so that would signal to me from a very naive standpoint, a very ignorant standpoint at this point, because I need to gather information. So I will consider myself very ignorant. But my initial hypothesis is that there are features that are more reinforcing, more desirable at home. And if we can shift some of the home pieces so it's not as comfy, it's not as appealing in the morning, then we can get that student into the building on time. Because again, once they're there, everything's fine. So I don't think that there's a fear of like the social things. I don't think that there's a fear of the schoolwork or the demands. But there is the feature of we're now getting into the second month of school and the workload will increase, and the teachers are worried that there will then transition to this overwhelm of, gosh, I'm so far behind. There's no way to catch up. So I'm just going to hunker down and kind of, hide my head in the sand type of approach. So I've got that at 10 o'clock. I typically do a high school consult at 10:52, but I let them know I'm likely going to be late. And I also let them know that I'm cramming a lot of things into 2 days. I have 1 o'clock is a middle school consult. And then 1:55, I have a student one-to-one. Now then I get into Wednesday, and so the rest of my week is not super busy, although I do have 12 o'clock is therapy. Let me just confirm that. $12 o'clock, 10:03. Okay, there's that. And then meeting with my dissertation chair. Oh, so far it's Friday, so this is not happening. So far it's actually, let me just do a quick reply back. I could do Thursday at 8:30 if that works for you. So my dissertation chair wanted Thursday morning, so I'm just going to write 8:30. So that kind of packs Thursday for me, but that's okay. Um, and then I just want to add into my calendar. Oh, yep, I'm going to accept that. Okay. So we're going to add in dissertation chair. That's going to be at 8:30. And then therapy is going to be at 12. Add that. Great. So now my iPad is up to date. Apologies for talking that through. Okay. Oh, sorry. I was just looking. I have an annual physical that is on my calendar. However, my doctor is unavailable, so I have to change it to December 3rd. And that's going to be at 2:40. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So there we are. Now I'm going to get into the daily. I did have somebody ask if I could show a little bit more of the daily. So I will flip through a couple and I'm just going to point out some of the things. Actually, maybe I'll start here. So this is back in February. I had some things that I wanted to do for tasks up here. These were some notes relative to the vacation we took this summer. On Sunday, I mapped out a task list for a report that I was writing, and then some grocery list items and some stats on my YouTube. I had a snow day on February 13th, so I documented that by writing snow day in kind of a little bit more of a fun font. This day, I wrote some notes of some different things. So I had bought a new hair product and I wanted to note how that hair product worked because I was in this whole phase of trying to figure out all the kind of a whole new system for my hair. Put a note that I worked late. YouTube ideas. I noted that I had some lower left abdomen discomfort. I remember that. I had to lay on my belly with a heating pad. I was just going to say that, and then I read it. Yeah. I had a kind of an emotional moment, but as I processed it, I wanted to write down my processing of what I learned in that situation. We did a Friendsgiving and I wrote down the menu. And prior to that, my husband installed the bees. So I did a little note on that. Pen and ink pairing, brainstorming at the end of April for May. Some days are not a whole lot doing. Another report. Noted that I went out. This was end of the school year drinks with some of my colleagues. The Celtics won. That's our local basketball team. Some goals for the week. Yeah. So those are just some ways that I have utilized the daily pages. It is exceptionally inconsistent. However, this is my planning and it's going to be set up in a way that works for me. So I'm just going to move that ribbon. All right, so I will start with Monday, go through, and as I go through, I do have some tasks that are projected out for this week, so I can write those things down. So apologies for being redundant, because some of these things most of these things I've already written down. So we have 7:45, upper elementary training, 8:25, upper elementary consult. This will be every other week going forward. So some of the tasks I'm going to write down is follow up on fourth grade consult. And as I'm reading this, I'm actually realizing that is done, because that is part of what this one is. So boom. I'm going to do a weekly review. So OmniFocus that application is based on David Allen's Getting Things Done method, which is an awesome method. I have the graphic for it right here. I forget that I have these page flags there. So I have the graphic for it right there. But part of the system is doing a weekly review, and he actually recommends you do it while kind of sipping your coffee. And in the OmniFocus app, it actually has a coffee cup as the icon for it. So I have in the Reminders app you can create subtasks for things. And so I have a header or a bucket, if you will, that I've titled Weekly Review. And the tasks that come to my mind as what I'm going to call a distractor. So while I'm observing a student, or while I'm in a consult, or while I'm in a meeting of some sort, if there's a thought that comes to my mind that pulls my attention away, it starts to distract me, I'll add it into that bucket. And so I wanted to build in a mechanism for me to be able to go through that bucket and sort things out and not have them just kind of get lost. So I called that, or the header for those subtasks is called Weekly Review. And I set up a recurring spot in my calendar for it so that I can tackle that. So I will do a weekly review, and I have to Venmo Dave football pool. So I do a football pool at work that is $5 a week, and you pick 5 teams. If they cover the spread, you get the money in the pot, or you split the money in the pot. And so for the whole season, it would be $85. I've decided to every 4 weeks pay in the $20 because then I can align it with my budget, because every pay period I get some spending money. So that's that. All right. And then just going to write Boston. And I don't know how long I'm going to be there for, but I'm just going to write that line down because it could be that long. And then this looks pretty bare, but when I go through this weekly review, I'm likely going to have a bunch of tasks added to this part of my day, just because I want to try to close out some things before being out of work for a few days. All right, so Tuesday, starting with a task, check my budget. I don't have that 8:15 meeting, so I'm going to jump right to 10 o'clock. And 11 o'clock is high school consult. 1 o'clock is middle school consult. And 1:55 is a middle school one-to-one. I also added a recurring task to the reminders that is a cluster of tasks that I'm calling my post-work routine. So that includes things like cleaning out the coffee pot, doing the dishes, loading, unloading the dishwasher, putting in a load of laundry or folding some laundry, and then general tidying of the kitchen. As I'm sure many of you experience, the kitchen can become a little bit of a cluster zone. I mean, every house setup is, I guess, a little bit different, but I tend to enter, or the first room of the house that I enter is the kitchen. And so that can become a dumping ground. So there's that. Wednesday is surgery day. And we will learn the time of that surgery between 1 and 3 on Tuesday. So I don't know about you, but that's kind of stressful, the not knowing. So then Wednesday, again, I'll start out with a task of check budget. And, oops. All right, so I've got 8:30 dissertation, 10:15 massage, 12 o'clock therapy, and Friday, nothing, which is great. Saturday and Sunday, nothing, which is also great. So I'm very happy about that. Now going to Sunday today. So I will write a couple of things that I've already done. If that's not your jam, that's not your jam. We all do our things differently. But I'm going to start with my kind of general of workout, journal, budget, 5-year. I need to do a little bit of journal catch up. I did some yesterday, which was good. 5-year catch up. We need to start adding that back into our dinner time routine. So let me just write dinner. Dissertation, audiobook, and notes. So I've started on that. Pick up groceries. Probably didn't need to do a dash right there, but I have picked up the groceries. YouTube film plan with me. So I've started that. Upload. Schedule. Oh, no. I'll just switch how I'm doing it. Schedule Tuesday. So Tuesday will be my currently inked. And I'm going to put these in weird order because I have to pick inks and pens. And I need to swatch on papers. So what I do ahead of time before I film the video is I will swatch on all the other papers besides the one that I am filming the video on, and that way at the end I can show those ink and pen pairings on all those different papers. And then I will add in film 3 inks. And I'm going to do subtasks of pick inks. So I got to figure that out. And then we've got to do fold some laundry. And yoga. My husband and I are trying to build into our habit doing yoga on Sundays before, what's it called? Before football starts. Wow. So that's today. Let me just add in for yesterday. And I do this. I do go back and fill in things. So being true to my core 4 of workout, journal, budget, and 5-year. So I did journal, I did budget catch up. I did do that. And then I actually was in Plymouth until about 1:15, between 1:15 and 1:30, and then I drove home. So I got home about 2:30, and that's when I kind of relaxed a bit. I went to the Pelican Hub on Friday, and not knowing kind of what to expect or whatnot, I packed a lot of stuff, which ended up being a conversation starter between myself and many, many people. And because of the number of people that I ended up interacting with and having these awesome conversations, and just in this exceptionally enthusiastic and joyful way, connecting on inks and pens and paper and all of those things. So I ended up staying a lot later than what I had thought. So it was about 8 o'clock-ish that I left, and then drove to Plymouth and got to Plymouth a 9:15, and then socialized with our friends from college, which meant I was up until about 12:30. We sat by the chimenea. We played some cribbage. My girlfriend went to bed, and I stayed up later with the men, and we had a cigar. The men put on, Metallica and Tool and System of a Down, and described to me what they enjoyed about each song, which really helped me to appreciate that music, even though it's not necessarily my style. So it was a late evening. I got to enjoy this really, really nice, cider donut beverage. And because it's cider, it's gluten-free. But it was a little reminiscent of kind of a fall pumpkin ale with the caramel and cinnamon on the rim. but it was safe for me, which was good. And then I also had a glass of red wine. So all that to say, I then woke up at 6:15 in the morning, and I just don't sleep well. When I'm over at other people's houses, if I'm at a hotel, I can sleep. I can sleep pretty well, not always, but I can. And obviously, if I'm at home, I can sleep really well. But it was kind of a restful sleep. And I woke up at 6:15 to go with. Um, I consider him my nephew, but my friend's son, to two hockey practices, um, which was really, it's nice to be able to go and support him in that way. And um, he he seemed really excited that I was there, so I liked that. And then we went back and I helped my friend prepare for his birthday party today, or his birthday party that is today. So I helped with making some brownie cake pops. And to be clear, my contribution was to get them covered in icing and sprinkles. They are an allergy heavy family. So not only are they gluten free, which is really nice because when I'm there, the food is safe, but they're also dairy free and nut free. So if you know anything about allergies, you know that that can be really challenging. Specifically, the dairy free is very challenging. So it was a gluten free, dairy free brownie. The icing was dairy free, and then the sprinkles. And it took a bit to figure out how to get the icing to really adhere to the brownie pops, but we made it work. And then I also did some chocolate chip cookies, and my friend is using those chocolate chip cookies today to make ice cream sandwiches for all the kids coming to the party. And so they had to get dairy-free ice cream and all that fun stuff. But I made these chocolate chip cookies that were all the allergen compliance and put the first batch in. And this particular batch of cookies didn't spread out. So the scooper that I used, they stayed in that ball shape. So the next pan that went in, I kind of pre-flattened the cookies so that they were in a circular or flattened circular shape. And that way it was a little bit more uniform that she could use them to make the ice cream sandwiches. So I helped her out with that, which really helped alleviate some stress that she had for all the things that they had going on this weekend. This family has 3 boys. All 3 boys are in sports. Some of them are in multiple sports. So just yesterday alone, she had the 2 early morning practices for one son, and then another son had a football practice followed by a game, and then the third son had a hockey game later that night. And that's just one Saturday for this family. I don't know how they do it. But interestingly, she and I had this really lovely conversation about how both of us look at the other person and think, gosh, I couldn't do that. So I look at her life and think, gosh, I would really struggle with having multiple kids in multiple sports and having my weekends really jam-packed with going between practices and games and even team parties and things like that. And she had the opportunity when her kids were really young to be a stay-at-home mom. And now she does private practice in her field of choice and can really pick and choose her schedule and take on as many clients as she can handle for a period of time, and really have a lot of control of her schedule. She also has some additional contract work that she does, and I find her work fascinating, and I love all of that for her. But her weekends are jam-packed, and it's that causes me anxiety thinking about, because I would not be able to relax between these different things. And then she looks at my life and thinks, gosh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't work full time, and I couldn't work on a dissertation, and I couldn't, kind of manage the things that I'm managing. And because I do it every day, I don't necessarily see it as challenging, but it was very validating for us to have that conversation and acknowledge it's almost the grass is greener on the other side, except we're going the opposite of, like, the grass looks fried on the other side. But both of us are handling it. And so we expressed kind of pride for the other person for being able to handle it. And that's a good friend. We also had this really lovely, I'm just a little chatty right now, apologies, but we also had this really lovely talk about how we've really noticed in each other or in ourselves this ability to really evaluate the relationships that we have in life and hold on to and cherish and nurture and pour into the relationships that bring us joy, that challenge us, that fulfill us, and the relationships that seem to be a little bit more on the drama side, for ease of a word. And that result in angst and hurt feelings and upset. Those are the relationships that we've noticed ourselves really drifting from and pulling away from. And while that drifting and pull away period of time is uncomfortable and filled with a lot of sadness and grief, it's needed. And this Saturday morning was really interesting because we were watching an episode of The Office, which is part of our routine. And, she had said, do you have any juicy gossip? And I actually thought for a moment and thought, I don't. And that hasn't been the case. In the past, I've had kind of some venting to do about an interaction with somebody, or the way that a situation played out, or an expectation that was unmet. And I didn't have that this time. And that felt really good. It felt really good. So I think I will end my rambling on that note. If you made it this far, thank you so much, so much. If you're one of my new viewers from meeting me at the Pelican Hub, this was an interesting one for you to join in on, but I appreciate if you do watch it. And I am just looking forward to getting through Wednesday and starting this healing chapter for my son. Again, I don't know what to expect, so I'm a little nervous. So feel free to drop your well wishes in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.